All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Maggie Ostara, and I'm super delighted to be here with you today. This is our webinar on discovering the superpowers in your human design and really getting that there's nothing wrong with you. The reason that I named the webinar that, just as a kind of shout out, is that I actually did a reading with a woman recently, and during our integration session, because when I do a foundational reading with people, I do a 90-minute reading and then I do a half-hour integration session so that I can get a sense of, what they got. They can come back for coaching or clarifying questions or whatever. And when we came back for her integration session, she told me she had listened to the recording of our reading. And there was a point at which I said to her, there is nothing wrong with you. And she said that when she listened to the recording, it actually made her cry. And so I was really touched by that. She was really touched by that. And unfortunately, I think this is one of the downsides that we have in our world today, where a lot of times we think there's something wrong with us, or we're unworthy, or we're undeserving, or we're not good enough, or we're not, it's just like the litany of those things can just go on and on. And if you've ever had those kind of thoughts, can you just maybe pop yes into the chat, or even what they were, or anything like that? Because I think it's really important for us to know that we're not alone. If we ever have those kind of thoughts, or if anybody ever said that to us, that we're not alone. And that unfortunately, this is part of some of the conditioning that we've all had that have led us away from a deep sense of who we are, and have led us away from really the ways we can get to know who we are. And so I wanted to talk to you about human design superpowers, because for me, I think that human design is an incredibly beneficial and powerful system for us to get in touch with many, many aspects of ourselves that we never were taught about. We haven't seen reflected to us in culture. We maybe were even steered away from, or we decided to cut off because it didn't fit in. And the thing about human design is that everybody's is very unique. Everybody's is their own, and no two people have the same human design. But then in addition to that, we also have the lives that we've led, the different challenges and opportunities that we've had, and the decisions that we've made, the families we grew up in, the cultures we grew up in, the education that we had or didn't have, and so on. And so there's just really a lot of things to take into account when we are considering, where we are today and how we can grow ourselves into the people that we have the potential to become. And so I wanted to just share with you a little bit about this idea of superpowers, because I have used it, and this is it's something I've been doing for a few years now. And most recently, I've been wandering through the Marvel multiverse with my my non-binary 20-something Gen Z 20-year-old. And they were excited for me to come and watch these with them, because I've been very kind of resistant to it. But I'm curious about our interest in superheroes and superpowers. And I think part of the reason for this, whether or not you're a fan of those movies or comic books or anything like that, I think there is a kind of desire for a longing almost for, if you want to call them superpowers or becoming super beings, because we're recognizing that the challenges that we're in here on planet Earth these days are pretty big, right? And so we have them individually, we have them in our families, we have them in our communities, we have them in our countries, we have them in our world, right? And I think that it's getting harder and harder to deny that. And the pandemic, I think, was a huge kind of, the slap in the face or kick in the butt or shaking or whatever, right? To say, wow, look at where we're at. And so I believe if you're here, or if you're watching this recording later, or if you're interested in human design, or if you're attracted to the work that I provide, that you are one of the people who want to have a meaningful life. You want to make a meaningful contribution. You want to feel on purpose. You want to know that how you're living your life and you're expending your energy and you're providing your goodwill out into the world is going to make a difference, because you're realizing that the old way of doing things is really breaking apart. The story of progress, certainly that I grew up with, my parents really grew up with, I grew up with, but it really got flavored by civil rights and feminism, and then lesbian and gay rights and so on. There was I kind of grew up in the heyday of the expansion of civil rights, which we're seeing a lot of pushback against that these days, although I don't think we can go back. I don't think people are going to allow that to happen. But, so it was flavored with that. But the story of progress, which is based on a really extractive economy, right? It's about us extracting as much energy as we can possibly get from the earth and then using it up, almost as quickly as possible. Like, we can't go on doing that anymore. We just, the earth is not infinite in what it can provide to us. And we can't go on, killing our forests and the things that actually keep us alive, polluting our planet and poisoning our food and doing all those things. Like, we're going, okay, all right, I get it, like, enough. And that realization often is paralyzing, because then you go, well, it's so big. What can I do? What can I do? And so this desire for superpowers, to be super beings, I think it's stirred partly by this desire to be able to make a difference, to positively contribute, to know that you have that inside of you, and then to be a little bit like deer in the headlights when you look at the magnitude of what's happening out there. And you're like, what is my place in all of that? So the thing that I think is really awesome about human design, that I think it can help us with, is that it reveals to us aspects of ourselves that, when we look at it from a kind of overculture point of view, right? The way that our mainstream overculture has taught us that reality works, or about what's possible or what's not possible. That when you look at the things that human design provides to us from that point of view, they seem like superpowers. They really do, because they are so outside of what mainstream culture, the overculture, teaches us is real, is valuable, is something you can rely on or not, And so I think that can be extremely inspiring for us. And so when we're able to discover and learn about, be able to digest, integrate, really take in, and then start living our lives with our human design superpowers, we live very, very differently in the world. I know that I have lived very, very differently since I've really taken in human design for myself. And so I hope to inspire you to want to do that for yourself as well, and to be looking at, well, what is it that you can take now and you can start working with right away. And if you do want to deepen your understanding of human design, and if you want to work with me, then I do have something I'm going to be sharing with you a little later today about how you can do that. I have my Activate Your Superpowers Introducing Human Design program, which I open up this time of year. This will be the third year that I'm opening it up. And it's got a bunch of extra new stuff that's going to be a part of it. And so I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. But the first piece I want to talk about in a kind of general way about human design and what I feel it can bring to us is a really practical way of connecting with spirit. Now, I know that when I first was becoming an adult and figuring out what that meant and who I was going to be, I was very, very left-brained. And when I kind of came to the end of what I was going to do, really being a left-brain person, and I started to explore what else there was, really. And I was introduced to metaphysics and to spirituality and so on. And I always thought it was a great idea to be able to connect with spirit. And I learned how to do affirmations and positive thought. And what I found is that sometimes things worked and sometimes they didn't. And it was very confusing and frustrating for me. Although I did manage to create a lot of success for myself by doing that, it also came at a cost of burnout for me because I didn't really know how I was doing it. So I really thought it was a great idea to partner with spirit, but the truth is I didn't really know how to do it. I mean, this idea of affirmations or visualization or positive thought and all that, that is a component, I think, but it's relatively simplistic and it doesn't give us the kind of richness that human design gives us. Human design gives us really a step-by-step process or curriculum, if you will, former professor and me, curriculum, if you will, for how to partner with spirit, for how to live buoyed by spirit, how to have guidance coming to us that can help us to live extraordinary lives, and how to not be wasting our own energy so much, but to be able to be tapping into the flow of life to support us in our endeavors. And when we do that, then we use a lot less of our own energy in order to create in our lives. I've been astonished, honestly, at what I've been able to do since I've really been living my design. In terms of, I am probably more productive, if we like to use that word, which comes from the older culture. I don't really like it, but more, I've been able to create more, being in alignment with my design and working with my design, and yet have all the energy I need, not burn myself out, know when enough is enough, be able to stop, pick it up, and be able to receive the guidance that I need about how to do that. And I want you to know that that's totally possible for you. I don't know the degree to which you've already been able to experience that, but I want you to know that it's totally possible for you, and that I want to help you learn how to do that if that's something that you want. Because I think that our way through the challenges that we're living in right here on planet Earth right now are not going to come from inside of the ways we've been thinking about things. I don't think we're going to be able to answer or solve these issues with science. I mean, I think science will be a component and will help us, but I think that we have to be receiving really leading edge, breakthrough, out of the box ideas and perspectives and perceptions and possibilities that are going to come to us through our connection with spirit. And there's not going to come from us sitting down and thinking about it. Once we get some of those epiphanies and insights and possibilities, yes, we'll need to use our left brain. We're going to need to analyze. We're going to need to use science. But I always like to remind us of, that Einstein actually had a dream about his theory of relativity, right? He had a dream about it. And when he woke up, he said, oh, I guess I'm going to have to create the math to show that this is true, right? And so the math came, but the insight came from source. It came from spirit to him in a dream. It did not come from him sitting down and doing calculations. Okay. So what I hope for all of you is that we all develop our ability to have that kind of connection with spirit so that we can be receiving the guidance that we need, the insights, the breakthroughs, whether that's just a breakthrough about how to repair a relationship with your partner, with your child, with somebody at work, with a neighbor, like an epiphany about how to repair that relationship so that you can be back simpatico with people that matter to you, or simply being able to connect with and collaborate with people that you need to be in the world with, right? Which is a huge skill we all need to develop. We need to get better at that. Whether it's something like that, or whether it is a new idea for a project, whether it's a book that you want to write, whether it's a new direction that you want to take your business, or that you want to help your business to go in, or whether it has to do with your vision for how to, I have a friend who has a vision for wanting to get 1 million millennials and Gen Z Zers. He's also a boomer like me, a young boomer, but a boomer. And he's like, together to actually plant trees for a month. And he's got this vision of wanting to do that. And he's starting to talk to people about it and thinking about how that can come. And I was like, wow, where did that idea come in from, right? It was inspired in him, and he's certainly not going to be able to manifest it on his own, but we need ideas like that. And we need the inspiration, and we need the confidence and the fortitude to believe that that's possible, and not go, oh, that's crazy. That's wacky. That's way out there. Because honestly, what we need is going to have to be kind of wacky and out there. And it's going to have to break apart our mindset about what we think we can do individually, what we can do in our families, in our communities, in our countries, and in our world, right? We need to break apart the old stories about how things work and what's possible. So I believe that your connection with your human design and your understanding of what the different superpowers are that you have, and your ability to make them real in your life, is going to make you one of those people who's going to participate in that bigger project, which is what I really see as the kind of emerging purpose of humanity. Right? We have proven that we are the dominant species on the planet. Okay, we've done that. We don't have to keep proving that we're the dominant predator and the dominant species on the planet. What we need to do is evolve into truly being the adults that are here to steward the planet, to take care of the people who need to be taken care of our ecosystems that need that, right? And that we can move outside of our own individual, egoic, self-interested way of being in life, which unfortunately is the way that overculture teaches us to be, and that we can evolve into something else. And I really see human design as an incredible support, an ally for us in that evolutionary process. In fact, it's a template for evolution, if you will.